Hello, sisters and nieces. Welcome back. You might be wondering, I thought you said you wasn't going to be doing all that dressing up and whatnot. Well, I had time today. Not to mention, it's Black Breastfeeding Week. So you know I had to come correct as a previous Black breastfeeding mother to my young ones. I'm just here to represent, if you know what I'm saying. So, come on in. Let's breastfeed the baby. Today's topic is going to be about five sense feedings and how you can use all five of your senses to determine if breastfeeding is going well, and just to educate you a little bit about how all five of your senses play a part in breastfeeding. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I've been trying to keep my long form content like 10 minutes, and I haven't been meeting that goal. So I'm going to just get right into it. Okay, so the first topic today is see, your eyes. What do you see when you're breastfeeding your baby that determines how breastfeeding is going or if the feeding is going well? Number one, you want to see a wide open mouth on your baby. You want to see those lips flanged outward, kind of like duck lips. Your baby should be very wide, lips flanged out on the breast. You want to see rhythmic jaw movements. Your baby's ears and temples will be moving. So if you take a swallow right now and you feel the side of your head, you can feel the part of the temple that moves. So pay attention to that part of your baby's head when your baby is breastfeeding to determine if your baby is actually getting enough to eat from breastfeeding. You'll notice that your baby's hands just kind of relax and their arms kind of relax and they almost become like a loose, a wet noodle a little bit. These are all signs that the feeding is actually going well. You want to see slower sucking after letdown, so the draws get a little bit longer. Um, and then you want to see that chin buried very deep into the breast. If the chin is buried deep in the breast and the neck is extended, and then you'll be able to actually see your baby taking swallows in their throat with that chin buried very deep in the breast. Now, things you don't want to see is your baby's nose plugged up and they're struggling to breathe. So, for example, if that chin isn't buried very deep, then and so your baby's essentially like this, then their nose is going to be cut off by the breast. So try to position your baby where they have neck extension and chin burial into the breast, which will relieve room for the nose. You don't want to see your baby looking uncomfortable when they're breastfeeding. If they're, fidgety, squirming, coming off, not comfortable, not maintaining a latch, this is not, this is a sign that maybe breastfeeding isn't going as well as we hope. You don't want to see nipple damage or compression stripes on your breast. So if your breast comes out looking like a lipstick shape where it's kind of pointy at the tip and flat on the side, then your baby may be latched too shallow, and I guarantee you're feeling some pain if that is the case. Compression stripes and nipple damage is a sign of a bigger issue. So if you're seeing these things when you're breastfeeding, then there's a possibility that breastfeeding isn't going as well as you want it to go. The next topic is going to be what you hear and how you can use your ears to determine if breastfeeding is going well. You want to hear swallowing. It's that sound of swallowing that you hear after a few suckles or after your baby sucks. You want to see that swallow. You want to hear that swallow. You want to hear soft breathing, like your baby is relaxing and becoming comfortable. Some babies even do this little coo where they're just like, hmm, hmm. Here's a picture of my baby doing that. It was just the cutest little thing. Okay. Sounds of just overall being content, that sound of just content and satisfaction. What you don't want to hear is clicking, smacking, or constant crying. If your baby is clicking, smacking at the breast, or crying constantly, coming on and off, the feeding is likely not going well and we'll want to do something different. The next thing is feel. What you feel and the touch and how that plays into breastfeeding and how to know if the feeding is going well. So if you can feel tugging on your breast, you know your baby is suckling and pulling milk through. If you feel that letdown sensation, it's very hard to explain, but most mothers who have felt letdown know exactly what I'm talking about. Not every mom has letdown. But if you feel that little rain feeling coming down your breast, then that's a good sign. You'll feel your breast softening after breastfeeding. So they might be really full and engorged initially, and then after the feeding is completed, you'll notice they're much softer, not as firm anymore. That's a good sign that the baby transferred milk out of the breast. And if you just can feel your baby relaxing, and I'm big on energy, like pay attention to the energy too. Your baby's energy is going to tell you a lot about the feeding. If they are content and relaxed and they're just like, then that's an indication that the feeding is actually going well. Now, things you don't want to feel is going to be pinching, clamping, nibbling, pain, or discomfort. If you're feeling any pinching on your nipples, the latch is likely not right. If you're feeling clamping or nibbling, like your baby's kind of chewing on your nipple with their gums, something isn't right. If you're feeling pain or discomfort when you are breastfeeding your baby that lasts longer than the initial latch, that basically is lasting the duration of the feed, something isn't right and there's something that we want to correct there. Okay. So you might be wondering, how does smell play into breastfeeding? Like, how can you use smell to determine if breastfeeding is going well? The better question is, how can smell help with breastfeeding, right? So if you are smelling your baby, you know that newborn smell, and that's why we love smelling the top of the baby's head all the time. It's that newborn smell that will release oxytocin in your system. Oxytocin is the feel good hormone that actually triggers your letdown. So, stay close to your baby. Do a lot of skin to skin with your baby. Smell your baby. That is going to help with breastfeeding. It can trigger your letdown and help your body prepare for breastfeeding. And your baby also uses smell to breastfeed as well. So, have you ever heard of the breast crawl when they pull the baby out and they place the baby on your chest directly, and the baby starts bobbing their head around, kind of looking for the breast, and they just kind of make their way down to the breast to breastfeed? They're using smell to determine where the breast is. So, your baby smelling you can help them find the nipple and help them breastfeed better. Your nipple starts to develop Montgomery glands a lot of the time around your nipple, and these secrete a fluid that smells very similar to what the baby smelled in the when they were in your tummy. And so it helps them locate, they're attracted to that smell. And so it helps them locate your nipple and it helps them to latch on easier. All right, taste. How does taste determine if breastfeeding is going well? Well, a satisfied baby continues to swallow and actively nurse because they're receiving the milk that they want. If your baby's drinking like nasty milk or your milk is unsatisfactory to them, they likely won't continue to suckle. So if your baby is continuously suckling, relaxing after tasting, they develop efficiency over time. Um, when your milk begins flowing, babies change from quick draws to the more slower, rhythmic movement, fluttery sucking to slower, deep sucking with audible swallowing. So your baby's tasting your milk, um, and 9 times out of 10, they like it. Now, what I will say, sometimes when a mom has mastitis, it can change the taste of the breast milk for them. And sometimes babies don't like to nurse on the side where mom is experiencing mastitis, but most babies find it okay. But taste does play a part in how breastfeeding is going for the dyad. As feeding continues, breast milk becomes higher in fat. So, encouraging baby to stay at the breast and continue feeding effectively. Okay. So I know I did good, you guys. I just made it to 10 minutes. So that is how you can use your five senses to determine if breastfeeding is going well, or what type of information the five senses are feeding you to determine the feeding or to help with the breastfeeding. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and tell me, what is your favorite sense when breastfeeding? I'm very interested to know. My favorite sense is, I'm going to have to say smell, because I just love the smell of a brand new baby. And I really enjoyed breastfeeding and that closeness. Actually, I loved it all, honestly. Breastfeeding was amazing, and I wouldn't choose anything else for my children. Side note, I'm writing a book, guys. So it is a prenatal guide and workbook, and it is everything you need to know about breastfeeding before you have your baby and immediately after having your baby. It's a workbook where you'll be able to take notes in there and just write in it, and you can keep it as reference. I'm working really hard on this, and I'm trying to roll this out mid-September, and just so that we have a little sneak peek of what September's content is going to look like, we're talking about pumping, mamas. We are talking about pumping every week in September, because pumping is a really big part of breastfeeding. We're going to talk about when to pump. We're going to talk about different pumps that you can use, how much is appropriate to leave returning to work, all of the things, and it will be broken down into segments. Please drop a comment and let me know what you'd like to learn about first in September. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Happy Black Breastfeeding Week. And this is the final week of World Breastfeeding Month, by the way. So, congratulations, mamas, on your breastfeeding journey, on your brand new babies. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys today. All right. Bye.